missionary works. And now the church has grown big, along with the ethnic, versatile cultural values of Africa. Discuss more about the beauty of the Dancing Church of Africa. We have with us today the Archbishop of Mombasa, His Grace Martin Kivuva Musonde.
How people are willing to walk with us. And they are open to supporting the initiative of the church. God is walking with us and continues to walk with us.
Your Grace, welcome to Heart Talk.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for having me.
We would like to know certain things from you as we are in Africa for the first time. Pope John Paul II once said that good families produce good vocations and faithful families create faithful Christians. From that context, I would like to know more about your family and your childhood.
My both parents, I found them Christians, Catholics for that matter. And at that early age, I remember very vividly, born in another area other than Mombasa, was Machakos then. As I grew up, I found myself as a young boy going to the nearest parish called Mudedeni. When we came into the family, I remember very well, every evening, almost without fail, we were sitting after the meal to say the rosary. And I remember very well, no one would miss. There you miss. And not only that, it became kind of a tradition that all of us as we grew up, both our parents were able to educate us within the context of the Catholic faith. And it was the most natural thing we did and find ourselves in. So as I grew up, I found this aspect, as already said, where the church was not just an individual matter, it was a family matter. We went to church in the morning, or any days we went and came back together. At the family level, we were involved. The morning prayer at that time was also possible, the night prayer, and then a rosary even after that. So I agree totally with that statement. But of course, when you're doing that as a young man, you're not thinking of what you will be. You're just doing what was acceptable within the context of the family as well.
Your Grace, you are the firstborn in your family. As far as we understood from the culture of Africa, the firstborn in a family is supposed to support the father in running the family. And you took the vocation of priesthood. So it should have been a bit tough, to get the acceptance from the family, and how you also observed it.
I must admit, after my primary school education, I went to a minor seminary, which was not too far from home. I wanted originally to work for the Kenya Power and Electrical Company. I loved electronics.
Oh.
And I was kind of tempted that direction. But somehow or other, on another voice, was like, I would wish to also be a priest. And the reason why I wanted to be a priest was, as we grew up in a new area we had moved in, Shimba Hills in Kwale County, now in Mombasa, in 1962, and I went through school there. We didn't have many priests. We had only one priest who came once a month to the area we were. And there was not much of a house. He stayed in the sacristy of the kind of mud house we had put up as a church. And since I was not too far from that area, I'd go over in the evening and kind of keep him company. We would pray in the evening with this priest, a Holy Ghost man called Father Brannigan. He's dead now, God have mercy on him. And for some reason, it kind of bothered me a bit. I said, I wish I can help him more. Oh. So this pricking of wanting to help Father Brannigan to do what he was doing, because after all, there was no place we could stay, both of us. He stayed in the house, or the sacristy, where he dressed up for mass in the morning. And since he had a little Volkswagen, I stayed in the Volkswagen in the morning, until morning, just slept in the car. But for my dad and mom, they would ask me to accompany. Sometimes I bring in corn for him in the evening to boil and roast, and we eat together. And I kind of kept going, but I felt I wish I could help him more. So later on, fast forward to this year, 1972, when we were to either decide to go to a college for whatever or go to the seminary. So I went over to my local parish priest and he asked me, "Are you going to go to the senior seminary?" And I'm the firstborn, of course. My father was not all good, his health was not good, not very good. My other brothers, siblings were still in school. There was also that tension, whether get a job, support my father. But somehow I'd say, let me ask my father. In between that, I want to help Father Brannigan. So this kind of little tensions of helping Brother Brannigan, wanting to go and do electronics, and wanting to become was not so clear.
Yeah.
So one morning, I don't know what happened. I went and told my father, I would like to go to the seminary, because after speaking to the priest, he told me, well, if you like electronics, surely you can be an electronics and also as a priest. Oh, can you do both? He said, yeah, you can do both. Okay. So somehow I relaxed on that one. When I came home, my father, I thought he would say, oh, you cannot go because you're a firstborn. But he didn't. He kind of accepted without much resistance.
Your Grace, once you become a priest, everything changes. Once you had the relationship, the blood relationship at home, once you become a priest, that changes. Then we become the brothers and sisters in Christ. So such changes are happening just after becoming a priest. How do you cope up with all those changes?
I guess, Thomas, the changes are not inevitable, because one, as you're growing up during formation, you already begin to orient yourself to something totally different relationships. For example, as a deacon, you are assigned to live in a parish and work with other people you never worked with them, and begin to interact with priests and so on and so on. So the changes of blood and brother relationship do not, for me, change, because when I go home, I'm still a son. So my brothers are still my brothers. They do not change being anything else. As a priest, I interacted with my parents and my mother the same, more or less the same way. Of course, the frequency is different, because now you're given other responsibilities. You're not available as much as you were before. And at the same time, the expectations of the responsibility is much higher, and you're relating with people on a different level. They see you as a priest, but my mom and dad still sees me as their son and their son. And so my brothers see me as their brother. But I cannot have the much time to be with them as I did before, because almost, I can say, your time is occupied by other responsibilities of the main diocese, archdiocese, or responsibilities of other national matters of the conference. But I try my best to reach out to them. When I can't, I call them as frequent as I can, just to have a chat with them, see how they're doing. And still that one day, 3 days or 2 days in a year, we come back together.
Your Grace, you are a man of prayer. And how could you manage all those moments of struggles in your life?
We were brought up in prayer. As I said earlier, we were able to isolate moments to pray, say the regular prayers that are morning, sometime, not afternoon, evening, at night, and so on. And that kind of routine was also extended to the seminary where we were training, and we had almost the same kind of a pattern, although it's a different kind of prayer, what you call the official prayer of the church. And the key moments of prayer for us, especially priests, the regular prayer of the morning prayer and the Eucharist, which is the summit of all the prayers. And those ones, you can never get enough, as I must admit, because every time I walk in the morning, there are many issues I think I need to talk to God about, including my personal ones, including the family ones, including people come to me daily asking for support in prayer. All these are things that can really drain someone. What do I do? What do we do? I try to consult, I try to form teams of people who we interact with on different issues. So you're not doing it as a single individual. Though you are the team leader, I try to create teams around us. Is it about the youth? I try to have youth coordinators or chaplains whom we can interact with them. Is it about the women? Somebody dealing with the women. And from there we can see what can we do most.
Your Grace, can you remember those moments where you think that God has really intervened in your life?
When I was a priest, as I told you, I arrived in a parish, and the next man, who was a missionary, hands over the key and says, "Welcome, Father Martin. Here's a key, but you'll be lucky if you survive here." I know he didn't mean it to demean me, but he wanted to show, look, these people cannot support the church. And I felt so a little bit apprehensive, a little bit disturbed and discouraged a bit. But I come in and say, look, who was helping him? And truly it was the family back home where they came from, the missionaries. And we want to thank them. They really spend their good time here, supported by their missionary committees and bodies and congregations, and also families. And I was aware, and I'm still aware, that when they still go back, the families support them in a very big way, including now the funding agencies that come from Europe and other parts. That has been always the case. But we're coming in from a background where you really are bringing no financial support to a parish and no financial support to a diocese or archdiocese. They say they know where you come from. There's not really much. Maybe it's the first time you're driving a car. You cannot call your own, and you never drove a car before. It's the first time you're opening a bank account. And it can be very, very kind of a little bit feeling, what do I give? What do I share? But working with the people, and I'm talking about bringing in people and talking about what are issues, what do we want to do together? And asking the next question, who has what kind of a possibility? And people say, well, like we did, from there we were to do a new outstation. And all I did was through the Caritas office or the development office, I was able to get milk and we'll make tea. Meanwhile, we invite people who build our own church with our own hands. And not stone wall, it was just mud wattle, very basic things. Putting in thatched makuti. Makuti is the palm things on the roof and so on. And that beginning, giving the people the enthusiasm to know, hey, we can have our own building, we can pray there. Fast forward, you go away and you come back and find, hey, these people we build eventually a beautiful church through our own fundraising. And you say, wow, how did this happen? God has empowered these people to say, yeah, this is our church. Just as those missionaries were supported, the Church of Africa and the church in the Archdiocese now, I can say we are on the right track. And this is his intervention, because as I came also to the Archdiocese, you found so many issues, financial, and you wonder, what do I do? But then the Archbishop is sick, and there are also kind of issues. So it is this kind of realization how people are willing to work with us. And they are open to supporting the initiative of the church, which is shared and people given an opportunity to participate. Therefore, encouraging people in our archdiocese or the parishes where we are to support their own development by sharing their gifts, by they're sharing their money, by they're sharing their expertise like architect or builders or nurses or doctors, and allowing each one to feel, I can contribute something. So God is working with us and continues to work with us.
Your Grace, I can call you a green bishop, because nowadays what we see, in the response that you have given to the call of Pope Francis for the environment, and that is awesome. Can you describe a little more on your activities in this area?
I began a campaign with myself and others to plant trees, to plant any tree that can remain green throughout the year. And even as you see my compound, I decided no one should cut a tree. If anything, plant one or two or three. And even as I speak now, in the last 2 months, 3 months, we've planted over 7,000 seedlings of different nature.
I see a green ribbon with some white patch on your cassock. Does it resemble or does it stand for those green revolution that you are driving?
The green ribbon we have here is a particular campaign we are making as bishops of Kenya. The country Kenya, over many years now, we have independence, over 50 years.
Oh.
But we have observed one thing that goes on in this country, and I'm sure many other countries of the world, that many a times, some of those leaders we are choosing are compromised by whatever we call corruption. And corruption is abuse of power, where people are spending money in the wrong way and abusing the money for projects for people for their own good, for their own benefits. We chose to do a campaign of encouraging all of us to think about what corruption does to us. Because you open the paper every day, there's one corruption after another. And it's not just here. So we need to educate ourselves and the young generation.
Your Grace, I have heard that you are very active among the youth. And how significant is the role of a youth in building up a parish or a diocese or, in the church?
As for me, the role of the youth is inevitable in the building of the body of the church, simply because first, they are the next generation that can be relied upon. One, they are searching for direction. They are looking out for help. What can I be? What are the opportunities in life? And they are anxious people by nature, and they need to be accompanied. So we give them opportunity, each group with its own kind of sector.
We see a lot of missionary congregations in Africa, and we could understand that they have contributed a lot into the African church, to build up the African church. Can you comment about that?
For sure, the missionary congregations that started coming our way planted the faith. And they planted in a very challenging moments at that time. Transport was not there. communication was very basic through their own witness of life, living in a place, living meagerly, as I mentioned earlier, like my good friend Father Brannigan, spending time with people, establishing schools, establishing health centers, bringing up, training young people to become or learn skills in training schools. This is biggest, and especially in the three areas of health, of education, and of building the basic infrastructure of parishes. We all one church anyway. Of course, culture is different, but that is a detail that can be dealt with.
Okay. In 1498, on a Saturday afternoon, on April 7th, Vasco da Gama landed in Mombasa. So he had two intentions, one is to do the trade, and second was to plant Christianity. And now it's around 600 years. Where do you find the African church after these 600 years?
The implantation of the Christian faith as early as that time began actually in Mombasa as early as 16th, 17th century. Fast forward, the first and end of that, there was a silent for about 200 years. Then in 1889, the Holy Ghost came back. That is after, now the Holy Ghost came back to do, again, replanting the faith, because there was a kind of a broken history when the first early missionaries of the left and their converts were incidental, spread all over, and they were kind of, it went silent. That faith never died. It's growing. The parishes are getting more, the dioceses are getting more, and it's a really great moment. Of course, as I've said, the area of intervention was school, the health centers, and where they interact with the people at the local level to make social developments of whatever kind.
Before we conclude, I would like to know your dream about the church in Africa.
I feel encouraged to see the collegiality that has come in and continues to come in terms of the missionary church. Those who are here and we interact with them, even as missionaries from other parts of the world, where each member sees what is our charism and allowing ourselves to put that at the service of the church and the community we are living in.